This is going to be my last top 10 list of the year. I want to do one more bonus video of albums I felt deserve a mention. They don't really fit into any of the specific genres of the other lists that I made. So here are the albums ranked 10 to 1. Coming in number 10 is Aspiral by Epica. The album was released on April 11, 2025 through Nuclear Blast Records. It's their 9th album. The album is heavily inspired by the work of Polish sculptor Stanisław Suzuki. I'm probably mispronouncing that. But his 1965 bronze statue titled Aspiral. There are lots of key tracks here, such as Cross the Divide. It's a high energy track. It sets the pace for the album. There is Arcana, which has a more atmospheric sound, but with heavy riffs and memorable hooks. There's Fight to Survive, has heavy chugging guitar riffs and some spacey and trippy keyboards. Probably my favorite track was a single called Time, spelled T-I-M-E. It has such a catchy melody. It's just one of those songs that gets stuck in your head. The album ends with a title track featuring the melodic vocals of Simone Simons, and it's more of a stripped down ballad to close out the album. Overall, it's a solid album by Epica, and for that reason, I wanted to put it on the list. Coming in number 9 is Parasomnia by Dream Theater. It's their 16th studio album. It's a very important one. It is the return of Mike Portnoy. It was released early in the year, February 7, 2025, through Inside Out Music and Sony Music. It's a loose concept album. A lot of it's about sleep, but about mental disorders like PTSD and similar conditions. I thought it was one of the best albums in a long time. It was definitely a very dark album, and even though I liked most of the recent albums, I thought it was a little different, and there are lots of great songs, such as Night Terror. That was the first single. It's a nearly 10-minute long song, but has lots of transitions and great guitar riffs. There was another single called A Broken Man, another really heavy track with a hard driving rhythm. There was one track that I didn't like that much called Bend the Clock. It was that typical Dream Theater power ballad, and I've never been a big fan of their ballads. But on a positive note, this one has a really good guitar solo. It's almost like this David Gilmour type of solo. So that part of the song is good. But overall, I'm a big fan of Dream Theater. I like almost everything they've done, with the exception of The Astonishing, which I don't like. But other than that, it was a solid album. Coming in number 8 is Roses from the Deep by Marko Hietala. It's his second solo album, if you only count the English ones. He has a lot more other ones, but released on February 7, 2025 through Nuclear Blast Records. It's a very personal album for him. He describes it as a lush sonic garden, and it reflects a journey after leaving the high-pressure world of major touring bands. This album is kind of hard to classify. It's generally heavy metal, hard rock, and there are elements of symphonic metal and some folk elements as well. Some of the key tracks include Frankenstein's Wife. This is a very dark Tim Burton-esque rocker with this mad scientist theme and a very catchy chorus. There is Left on Mars. It's a duet with Tarja Turunen, and their first major collaboration since they worked together in Nightwish. Another song, Proud Whore, kind of a bluesy rock song with this very Black Sabbath sounding guitar riff, and a very emotional ballad called Two Soldiers, and another song called The Dragon Must Die. Kind of a longer epic track, a little bit more of like a power metal with lots of electronic elements and metal riffing and a cinematic atmosphere. This album is all over the place, but I like it a lot. So it's a really good album, and I recommend it. At number 7 is Chevelle with Bright as Blasphemy. It's their 10th studio album, released on August 15th, 2025. It's a very important album. It's the first release after leaving Epic Records, and they signed with Alchemy Recordings. Songs are about different topics related to control in terms of things like government, religion, and technology. As for the music, it's what you would expect from the band. This band is hard to describe. You can call them like a riff-based alternative metal band, but they also have industrial and atmospheric textures. As for the songs, there's Pale Horse, the sludgy opener with some doom metal guitars. There's Rabbit Hole, Cowards Part 1, has chugging riffs and an anthemic chorus. There's Jim Jones, Cowards Part 2. This one has some industrial elements and some fuzzy guitars. There was Hallucinations. It's a mid-tempo track with haunting hooks, with spacey dissonance, and Wolves, Lower Light, which has some cool chunky guitars. The album has a few tracks that are more on the atmospheric and ambient side, such as Karma Goddess and Blood Out in the Fields. But overall, the band does not have any bad albums. I like everything that I have heard from them so far, and it's another good one, so I recommend it. Coming in number 6 is Turnstile with Never Enough. It's their 4th studio album, released on June 6th, 2025 through Roadrunner Records. This was actually the first time I ever listened to this band, but I like the album a lot. It's another band that's kind of hard to describe because I know this band is supposed to be a hardcore punk band, but the music has a lot of new wave and dream pop, and they use lots of different instruments. Some songs have flute and saxophone and other stuff. The album has 14 songs. There's a lot of variety on the album, so every song almost sounds different. Some of the key tracks include Never Enough. That's a cool synth organ intro and some dubstep bass guitar. Then the next song is completely different. It's called Soul, S-O-L-E, and it's just straightforward hardcore punk. Then after this is a song called I Care. This has this like 80s post-punk type of sound. It sounds like something like The Smiths. And then a track called Dreaming. It's a mix of punk and grunge has some saxophone. And then Light Design, very spacey and electronic and shoegazy, and brings back that 80s new wave sound. So overall, the band is very different. This album is very varied, but every song is really good, even though like all the songs are different. But I like it a lot, and for that reason, it is my number 6. And number 5 is Demon Hunter with There Was a Light Here. It's their 12th studio album, released on September 12th, 2025, through the band's independent label called Weapons MFG. I've been a fan of Demon Hunter for a while now, and I've listened to all their albums. I think this is their best album in a long time. It's a very personal album. It's a tribute to lead singer Ryan Clark's mother, who passed away in 2023. The album has a little everything. There are some heavy tracks, some mid-tempo rockers, some soft and emotional ballads. There are a lot of key tracks, such as My Place in the Dirt. It's a heavy, atmospheric opener. It sets the somber but driving tone. There is Sorrow Light the Way, which is one of the singles, had a very classic Demon Hunter type of sound. There was Light Made. That was one of the more radio-friendly tracks. Then there was the emotional The Pain in Me Is Gone, which was very heartfelt. Probably my favorite track was a deep cut called Arrow Burrows, and that was the heaviest song and also the most classic sounding of all the tracks. But overall, it's a really good album. It's a band that's kind of hard to classify, probably along the lines of melodic metalcore. I recommend you check them out if you have never listened to this band, because I like pretty much all of their albums. And number 4 is Killswitch Engage with This Consequence. It's their 9th studio album, released on February 21st, 2025 through Metal Blade Records. This album is a follow-up to 2019's Atonement. And the biggest gap between albums, according to vocalist Jesse Leach, the album is a reflection on the post-pandemic trauma and the division of those times in the early 2020s. I got into this band very late. As a matter of fact, I never really listened to them that much before this album. I listened to them off and on, but I went back, I listened to all their albums multiple times because I was preparing a ranking video, and you can find that on my channel. And I did that one shortly after the album came out. I felt this album was a return to that classic metalcore style. The album is very heavy. It's not as radio friendly as some of their other albums that came out in maybe like the late 2000s or the late 2010s. It's a really heavy album, and there are lots of great tracks. The opener is called Abandon Us. It comes right out the gate, very dark and aggressive sound, and then they continue with Discordant Nation, another heavy track with elements of thrash metal. After the first 2 tracks, the album tones down a little bit, and I think I like the middle of the album the best. So there is the song Aftermath. It's a little slower, has some clean and melodic guitars. There's Forever Aligned. There's a very intense drum beat in the intro and an aggressive sound. And there's I Believe, probably the most radio-friendly song on the album, but a very good song. But overall, probably one of the best albums in a long time. I remember I ranked it fairly high, so definitely check it out. And number 3 is Lacuna Coil with Sleepless Empire. I've been a fan of this band for about 10 years. I remember I didn't like their last album from 2019 called Black Anima that much, but I thought this one was a lot better. The album was released early in the year on February 14, 2025 through Century Media Records. According to the band, it is a return to a heavier and more experimental direction. That's because they did a remake of their hit album Comalies back in 2022, and that inspired them to kind of go back to that sound. But this album has lots of great songs. I think one of my favorite songs from the album, and even one of my favorite songs of the year, is called I Wish You Were Dead. That was the clip I played in the beginning. It has a very catchy sound. There's a cool music video. They have all these like extravagant costumes, and it's just one of my favorite songs. But there are other great songs like Oxygen, and that's another catchy song. And there are other songs with guest stars like Randy Blythe from Lamb of God and Ash Costello, a female singer I was not familiar with, but she's in a band called New Year's Day. Overall, one of their better albums, or maybe their best album in many years, and for that reason, it is making this list. Coming number 2 is Deftones with Private Music, their 10th studio album, released on August 22nd, 2025 through Reprise and Warner Records. It's their first album in 5 years since 2020's Ohms. Many people say that this is one of their best albums in a long time, and I agree. Even though I'm not like a major Deftones fan, I have been listening to them a lot recently, and I think like this one is really good and a lot better than some of the other ones. And a lot of people are saying this. I've just watched a few channels. Some people are ranking it as album of the year. I actually watched 2 channels. I'm not going to mention them to spoil anything, but I just saw 2 different channels make it their album of the year. But it earned a Grammy nomination for Best Rock Album, and that's pretty cool. But this album, it's pretty much a return to the nu metal sound a little bit, but also a lot of that shoegaze style, so it's kind of a mix of many of their previous albums. I think the one thing I like about this album is that it has this natural flow when you listen to it. I think this album is made to listen to from front to back. Even though it has some standout singles, but I think you have to listen to this album just as a complete listening experience because the songs go into each other so naturally. But if I had to pick out songs, I like My Mind is a Mountain. That's pretty cool. I think that was the first single. That one's like a heavier track. Locked Club has some nu metal elements and some cool guitars. Infinite Source, that's probably one of the best songs in the album. And it's one of those albums, it just draws you in. It just takes you to another world when you listen to it. It's really one of the best Deftones albums in a long time. I don't need to talk any more about it because everyone else is really talking about it. And I know it's making almost everyone's lists for the end of the year, but it's only my number 2. There was one album that kind of was a little better for me. My number 1 is Jinjer with Duél. It's their 5th studio album, released February 7, 2025 through Napalm Records. And according to the band, they say it's their most aggressive and introspective album to date. And I agree. I didn't like that one that came out before it. I don't even remember the name. Something like Flowers or something. But this one was a lot better. And I think a lot of it has to do with what was going on in their country. They're from Ukraine. So there are songs about war and being relocated and other stuff. So there's a lot of personal songs. There are songs about alcohol addiction and sobriety, and the song of Somebody's Daughter about women's rights. So there are lots of personal topics. So that's what I like about this album. But also just the music is really good. And they're kind of hard to describe. They play everything from progressive metal to groove metal to gent. I guess they're kind of similar to the band with Sugar, but I don't know. They're hard to classify, which is why I have them on this list. I've been listening to this band for a while now. I mean, maybe past 5 or 10 years. I really like the vocalist, Tatiana. She's probably one of the best female vocalists in metal. And the other members are really good. I usually, when I'm talking about this band, I usually just mention them by first name because I can never pronounce their last names. But you got the bass playing of Eugene, the guitar work of Roman, and the drumming of Vlad. This is a 4-piece band, really good band, and lots of great songs. You got heavy stuff like Hedonist and Rogue, lighter stuff like Green Serpent and Someone's Daughter, Alma Solid, another one you listen to from front to back, and there's no weak songs on it at all. That's what happened at number 1. So that is all. So check out this playlist. It has all my end of the year content. Like this video, helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.